They turned off the disco music. Makes me sad. Good afternoon. It is afternoon. I'm David Raab, founder, CEO of the Customer Data Platform Institute, and this is your ultimate guide to what's new in customer data management. Now, I did not write that headline, and I wonder what was going through the mind of the person who did write that headline. Ultimate means last, right? The last guide to what's new in customer data management. Did that person know an asteroid is headed towards the Excel Center at this very moment and will strike in the next 20 minutes, and this is the last speech on any topic you'll ever hear? More disturbingly, the last speech I'll ever give. That would be very sad. Or did they think that after today there will be nothing new in customer data management? So this will be the last presentation anyone ever gives on the topic. I think the asteroid is probably the more likely of the two. So let's talk about customer data management, technology. Three kinds of technology, roughly, related to customer data management. The first is actual customer data technology, the management of the data itself. The second is privacy, and the third is the more general marketing, advertising. So we're going to go through what, in fact, is new. These are the hot topics that we see in the industry right now. It would be extremely boring for me to just go through every one of these in gruesome detail, so I will not do that, but I will point out that each of these is something that is important maybe to users or maybe to IT, occasionally to both, okay? So that's a problem because, of course, it's a technology. Users depend on IT to make these things happen. So when users care and IT doesn't care, they don't get supported. When IT cares and users don't care, decisions get made that don't necessarily help the users, the marketers. So quick run through. Great deal of discussion these days on architecture, composability. How many of you have heard about composability as architecture of some sort? Fancy term, it means it's made up of components. Composability, components, like there's nothing magical about this. And we can distinguish that. So components means you have all these little bits. They're always referred to as Lego blocks, which is a terrible analogy, but you can snap them together like Lego blocks and build up your marketing ecosystem, marketing technology ecosystem. Or a platform where you have one system that sort of forms the base and then everything plugs into that. A little less flexibility, because if you change the platform, you have to find new pieces to plug into it. Or an integrated architecture where you buy one system that does everything. So a lot of discussion about that. Users, honestly, they don't care. They just want the stuff to work. IT people get very excited when you talk about what kind of an architecture to have. And it is important because it determines what's available downstream. If I buy a particular platform, Salesforce, Adobe, whichever one, or the other ones, then I'm limited to whatever plugs into that platform. So there may be a tool I would really like to use, but if it's not compatible, I can't use it. So it's important for the marketers to pay attention to that choice, even though it feels like it's just an ID technical choice. Second topic that's coming up for quite a bit of discussion is data warehouse as customer data platform. I'll guess most of you have some notion of what customer data platforms are, I hope. So, CDPs by definition are a separate database with your customer data in it. Great deal of discussion about, oh, can't we just use our data warehouse to store our customer data and not have a separate database? And the short answer to that is, well, technically that's possible, but most data warehouses really aren't designed to do what a CDP does. So it's not that the technology is incapable of it, it's just that that wasn't how that instance was actually built out. So it's something that, again, the IT people get very excited about. Oh, we can not have this other product. We can just do it all in our existing data warehouse. You as a marketer, I'm going to assume most of you are marketers, kind of be a little worried when you hear that. Make sure they really know what it is you need that system to do. Because otherwise they're going to build what they think you need that system to do. And the only thing I can promise is it won't be the same. External data source, also part of this whole composability discussion. Well, we have our CDP over here, and we're going to pull data into it, but There's some data we don't want to pull into the CDP. Weather data is a good example. I don't want to pull in every piece of weather data ever, just so occasionally I can refer to what the weather is for a given customer at a given moment. I just want to look it up. Or inventory data is another example of data that changes very frequently. You wouldn't really want to pull it in, but you might want to look it up. So CDP is not originally designed to do that. Many of the vendors actually building in connectors to make that possible. So it's a big change. AI for data management, of course. AI is everywhere. And, we usually in marketing think about it more for content generation or ideation, but there are a lot of potential uses of AI for things like identifying what data elements are in a given system so I can pull them out and use them, tagging data content, doing matching, so removing a lot of integration bottlenecks. So super valuable, high potential, but if you don't look at it, of course, the quality issues could sort of get lost in the shuffle because the AI doesn't understand about quality, right? You actually need people to look at this stuff and make sure the quality is what it should be. No code, self-service for users, another very hot topic here. Generally considered to be a great idea. Yes, empower the users. Yay, users. IT wins because they are doing less work. Users win because they have more control. We'll talk a little later, I think, about that, but it turns out that sometimes that's a great idea. Sometimes you're asking users to do things they don't really understand. Oh, here, Madam User, build your own predictive model. We'll just give you the tools. It's like, well, the Madam User may not know how to build a predictive model. And it may not be such a great idea. And she may not want to build a predictive model. She may want an expert to at least look over her shoulder. So self-service is a little more of a double-edged sword than sometimes realized. Real-time updates and access, another very common topic of discussion, very important for certain applications, increasingly important, more and more applications, but a complex topic. There's many different flavors of real-time, so you have to be careful. You understand what you're talking about, and again, the IT guys may or may not understand what you need, so be sure they understand what you have in mind. CDP versus DXP versus CXP, lots of new labels floating around the industry. The industry loves labels. Never quite clear what's actually new, or is it just new wine and old wine in new bottles for those things. So just be careful. You know, don't get too excited. Oh, I must have a DXP. What's a DXP again? Whatever it is, I have to have one, right? Understand what you're getting. Understand your requirements. And then if you find a package that does it, I don't care what the label is on it. You know, if it's good wine, I don't care what it says on the bottle. So that's kind of what's new in customer data technology. So if you came here to hear what's new in customer data technology, we've done our job, and you probably have another 15 minutes left that you can go off and have a drink. Privacy technology, second sort of major class of related data here. Lots of new stuff going on. Privacy, very important, increasingly important for many reasons that I hope I don't have to explain here. So we see more people looking at integrating marketing data management or customer data management with privacy data management, which is a different kind of system. Some of the vendors building in privacy management to their customer data platform or their other marketing technology. IT likes that because it's one product, not two. Marketers, again, not necessarily all that worried about it. Privacy compliant data storage, privacy governance engine. So again, an AI or a rule system that looks at what somebody wants to do and says, yeah, this is allowed, no, this is not allowed. As privacy gets more complicated, you deal with different regions, the rules get way beyond what you want to enforce manually. So you really do need a governance engine, something automated to do that. Data clean rooms, another fun topic, way of sharing data without exposing personal information, so keeping it private, particularly important when it comes to measurement in a cookieless world. It's important, but for different reasons. Marketers care because they get more data, they get more information. IT cares because now you're asking them to do more work. So a little bit of conflict there. Targeting alternatives to replace third-party cookies, again, not a topic that would be new to anyone in this room. Users are on their own with this one. IT doesn't care. They don't even know what targeting is, by and large. But unfortunately, it's a very highly technical topic. So it's really easy for marketers to get confused. So they kind of need some support from IT on that stuff. Other kinds of limits, again, related to privacy. Today you can use location data, tomorrow you can't. IP addresses, IP address, personal information. It's kind of creeping into that category rather rapidly. So today you can use it, tomorrow not so clear. Device IDs. Again, those rules are changing. It impacts deeply your systems, what data systems you're using. The IT guys are not paying very close attention. So marketing has to kind of drag IT into that discussion because it has huge impact on what marketing can get done. Third class of system, just sort of general marketing, advertising, MarTech, ad tech in general. All, of course, related to customer data. And what you'll see here is a bit of a pattern. Like, IT doesn't really care about any of this stuff, basically. It's like, yeah, most of it's just packaged software that users buy, but it's all pretty dang technical. So it all has to integrate with your company's systems. So it's definitely a concern if you are trying to adapt your systems and implement any of these things or use any of these things and you don't have enough support from IT to get that data integrated with the rest of your processes. So you can all read, suspect, chat AI-based everything, in-game advertising, connected TV. These are all fascinating topics. Voice-based advertising, I don't know why there's not a check. Retail media networks, live stream, social commerce, VR, AR. These are all, and it's all great stuff. It's all very interesting stuff. All has a big impact on your job. But again, we can't really spend a lot of time talking about any of them except to notice that if there's technology involved and you really have to understand it and see how it fits into your business, how you're going to use it as a marketer, as well as how it fits into your tech stack, how you're going to actually make it work with your systems. Okay, so key points here. Customer data grows more important every day. Hopefully no one here needs convincing on that point. Some tech is really very interesting to IT. Other tech is very interesting to users, but not so much to IT. But each group's decisions affect the other. If IT buys a piece of tech that marketing thinks it doesn't care about, that actually constrains what marketing can do. If marketing buys a piece of tech that IT doesn't think they care about, all of a sudden IT finds itself supporting something or integrating something it wasn't aware of that could actually be a problem. So they both need to be engaged in all those choices, every one of the categories that you saw on those 3 previous slides. Everybody has to be involved. In other words, cooperation is essential. If you put either IT or users in charge and give them complete authority, you're going to get poor results. They really do have to work together. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with the fact that it brings us to management, because cooperation is about management, or management is about cooperation. And here the CDP Institute does actually a fair amount of research, and we have what we think is interesting information. When we asked people if they had trouble deploying a CDP, really, or any other customer technology, guess what? The #1 problem by far is organization, not even close. Okay, not technical issues. And even the #2 one is underestimated the budget, right? Still more of a management issue than a technology issue. Input data #3, you have to get pretty far down the list before you really get into actual technical issues as obstacles. The big obstacles have to do with management. They have to do with organization. So bear that in mind. Not that technology is not important, but what's going to trip you up are the non-technology issues. The second thing that we find, and this is my most recent research just published earlier this month, is we found for the first time since 2017, when we started the survey, that the number of people reporting a unified database actually declined. First time since 2017. Could be data issues with the survey. You know, you can always question these things, but it does appear that at least there's a slowdown. And this is really quite shocking, right? Unified customer data is the holy grail. We all want unified customer data. Not a marketer I've ever spoken to who didn't want to have all their data easily accessible. So progress is apparently stalled. At least we think progress has stalled. That's kind of scary. Actually, it's quite scary. So what the heck is going on there? We think, because what we found, same research, is it's money, root of all evil, right? tighter budgets are slowing it down. We see that the number of people citing budget as their main obstacle increased 9 points here, more than any other category. So this is last year, this is this year, went from 20 to 29%. So the biggest increase in numbers was the people citing budget as an issue. Okay, so not a shock. We all know that the budgets are tightening up, but still actually intriguing and probably slowing down the projects. So, okay, so, all right, that's life. You know, budgets come, budgets go, they tighten up, they loosen up. Not too shocking in and of itself, but guess what? When people focus on budgets, they shift their focus to cost when they buy systems. Okay, this is what do you consider when you're selecting software? And again, we've asked this question for a number of years, and the biggest increase was those considering cost as a selection criteria. Okay, and the biggest decreases were those who were looking at features. Well, guess what? Low cost is nice. Buying a low-cost system with the wrong features is a really bad idea, okay? You probably don't need me to tell you this, but here's the data, right? More people are buying on cost than on features, and fewer are buying on features. This is a real big problem, and don't take my word for it. No, there's more. We actually, same survey, same data, we actually have a question about satisfaction. The question is something like, how would you rate the return on your investment of all your marketing technology investments, not CDPs in particular? And a higher number is better. So guess what? People who do buy based on features or on integration are quite satisfied. These are the most satisfied folks. The way that the way to really interpret that number is they're good at MarTech. They've done a good job, they get good results. It's not any one thing that they do, but they're kind of like, this is what the good guys, this is what the smart folks do, right? The folks who are making the mistakes, who are not satisfied, have low satisfaction levels, are the folks who are selecting on cost. Okay? More people selecting on cost leads to low satisfaction. This is not good. If you are one of the people selecting on cost, hide your head in shame. Okay, go home and think very hard. Do I really want to be these guys? Do I want to be this guy who's selected on cost and who's probably going to have problems later on as a result? Don't be that person. Okay, be the ones who select on features. The other thing, interestingly, of course, like the worst thing, is to select software because there's people around who know how to use it. Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any, don't do that one either, right? This is because you're trying not to spend money on training typically. Okay, it's another cost-driven sort of decision and really bad. Invest in training your workers. And keep your workers, don't hire new workers, okay? Because they know your company, they know your business. Much, much better to train existing workers than to bring in new folks who happen to know how to use this particular piece of software. And there's some exceptions, of course, but by and large, don't be focusing on cost, don't be focusing on available workers when you select your systems. Just not gonna work out well for you. Which brings us to who should run MarTech? Should IT run MarTech? Should a MarTech group, a marketing group, run MarTech? Again, most recent data, slightly more people putting MarTech in charge, putting IT rather in charge, way fewer people putting MarTech in charge. You can have multiple answers to these questions, and way fewer people letting each department run its own marketing technology. Okay? And again, guess what? The ones who put IT in charge are the ones who are the least satisfied. So partly that's because you're asking the marketers, am I happy? And people are going to be more happy when they're in charge, or when the MarTech department, which reports into marketing, is in charge. So if we asked IT people about satisfaction, they'd probably say, yeah, we're way happier when IT is in charge. So, bear that in mind. But by and large, probably more important to have happy marketers than to have happy IT people, right? I assume, again, most of you guys are marketers. So worrisome, worrisome that we are seeing a trend towards putting IT in charge. Probably a cost-related trend, yet again. Oh, we'll save some money, we'll just let IT run it, because IT is much more cost-conscious when it comes to this sort of thing than marketing ever will be. And that's okay, but they may cut a few corners. Oh, you don't need that feature. You know, we'll get you this other system, costs way less. It does most of what you need. It's way easier for the IT people to say than it is for a marketer to say it to themselves. So you kind of get some other decisions. The other thing that's driving this, which is a little more positive, is more awareness of the enterprise-wide applications of customer data. So it really should be an enterprise responsibility, which really does mean that IT should be in charge. So we're not saying IT shouldn't be involved, we're just saying that they should be among the participants, not the only part, not the major ones driving all of your marketing technology investments. And you know, guess what? Unfortunately, all those trends that we saw, satisfaction is falling. Very sad news, makes me sad even to put it up. But you know, that's what the data tells us. So all that cost cutting, all those decisions that look like they probably are not going to have good consequences, maybe they're already beginning to have bad consequences. We see a fall in satisfaction for the last 3 years. And it's not just satisfaction. We see Gartner talking about MarTech utilization being so low. They love to talk about that. Kind of a red herring. It's like, how many Excel features do you use? You don't use all the Excel features. You don't use all the features of any of your software. You use the features you need. So the fact that utilization is low in and of itself does not really mean much. But again, we see people planning to shrink their MarTech stack. They feel they have too much MarTech. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but that's a concern. Fatigue, MarTech fatigue is now a hot phrase in the industry. So there's this feeling that, oh, there's too much MarTech out there. We can't control it. So it's not just that the satisfaction is falling, you know, in our particular little data set. We do see other indications that people are kind of not as happy with MarTech as we would hope that they would have been. So actually we come to the end here. So what should you do? That's what you came here to learn, right? So what leaders do what the leaders do. Follow the leaders, right? Invest in flexible MarTech management. I don't think that we actually we did, oops. We go back to this slide here. No, actually, oops. Did we lose our little screen? Did I press some button I shouldn't have pressed? Sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, there's another set of data which is actually not in this slide deck that looks about the different techniques that people do. So they use agile methods and metrics and consultants and center of excellence. Those are things that correlate with high satisfaction. Okay, so those are good things to do. There's other tools that we ask about, like having a long-term plan, having technical standards, that still correlate with high satisfaction. Better to have them than not, but they don't correlate quite as much. It's a lower satisfaction level. And we think that's because those are more static. Long-term plans are great and they sit on the shelf or in a file folder someplace and don't really get used. Whereas things like Agile and metrics are things you use all the time. So actively manage your MarTech is what those first two bullet points are really saying. Select on requirements, not cost. I think I've made that point quite clearly. Where do requirements come from? Different discussion altogether, of course. But they should come from some intersection between your business strategy and your capabilities. They're not random. They're not, oh, well, what looks cool today? Okay, tie projects to business goals. Don't just buy tech for tech's sake. Oh, this looks really cool. Yeah, I'll do that. I don't know how I'll use it, but it's just so great. You know, I want to have AI custom generate an image, a custom image on each piece of email that goes out. Yeah, I can do that. But like, does it add any value? Think about whether it adds value. Does it serve a business purpose before you make that investment? And again, let MarTech staff take the lead, but cooperation with IT is essential. I'm not saying IT should not be involved. Of course they should be involved. They have to be involved, and I rest assured they will be involved. All right, that is actually the end. We are out of time, I believe. So if you have any questions, I'll be around later. Otherwise, I thank you for your attention.